Hey everybody, it is Trags Mike Petralio alongside Richard Skinner of Local 12 and Local12.com. This is the Jungle Roar Bengals postgame pod following the worst loss of the Zach Taylor era. I don't think that's hyperbole. I think given what we witnessed at Paycor Stadium here on Sunday afternoon, it was a catastrophic collapse. That's what I termed it on CINCINNATI.com. There's really no other way to term the way the Bengals defense played against a quarterback who came in not 2 days ago, 48 hours prior, knowing if he was going to be the starting quarterback, ripped by the Jets owner, Woody Johnson, and he goes out and directs an offense that piled up 502 yards against the Bengals. All of that said, the Bengals were up 31-16 at the start of the fourth quarter. We thought, yeah, maybe the Jets were going to put a scare into the Bengals, but the Bengals would win it walking away. 38-24, you kind of felt the same thing. Then the Jets started creeping back into the game, touchdown, 2-point conversion, and then they get the touchdown to go ahead 39-38. Bengals cannot engineer a miraculous comeback in the final 90 seconds of the game. They lose. They lose to the New York Jets 39-38, fall to 3-5 on the season. The Jets are the final team in the NFL to win a game this season. Skinny, it was horrendous football defensively to watch if you're a Bengals fan.
I mean, it's been that way all year, and I think that's part of the problem of you are literally paying the price for poor drafts, poor draft decisions, free agent signings outside of Trey Hendrickson, and even he now is getting hurt. You know, it's not you get hurt, but he's not a factor at the moment because of his injury, and who knows for what other reasons. You're paying the price for that. And, they all thought it was Lou Anarumo's fault, right? It's time for a new voice. I don't think this is Al Golden's fault. Is he culpable? No. Sure, he's culpable. I mean, he's the coordinator. You got to figure out something to do differently, to do better, but it's not the only reason, man. It's the talent level. It's a talent acquisition. And that's what, if you continue to operate in a century gone by with a minimal scouting staff, and Duke Tobin has had good drafts before. He hasn't had good drafts lately. Listen, there are plenty of general manager, and he's not the general manager, but he's the pseudo general manager, that have had good runs. And then the run ends for whatever reason. You've evaluated poorly. You've drafted poorly. You've made poor selections. It's on you, man, at some point. At some point, then you have to make that change. Doesn't matter what your past said. Doesn't matter that he took Geno Atkins in the 5th round and he was a great success. Doesn't matter that he drafted some good players for playoff teams under Marvin Lewis, and that he drafted some players that were helping this team go to the Super Bowl in 2021 and 2022. This is today. This is now going to be 3 straight years, barring a miraculous run, and it would be miraculous with how bad this defense is, of a defense that has slid so badly that you were going to go 3 straight years without making the playoffs. And I know Joe Burrow's not around this year. Well, Joe Flacco's playing like frickin' Joe Burrow. So at what point does this ownership group go, we need to do more, not status quo, do something different and more? And the different would be go get a real general manager, go get more scouts. Stop piddling with this stuff, because when at the end of the day, it's like any sport, buddy. I coach high school basketball. I think I'm pretty damn good, Mike. But you know what? I'm not very good if I don't have good players. I'm going to make bad players be better. I'm going to make good players be great. I'll make great players go win a championship. But I can't do really a whole lot, and neither can this coaching staff. And I'm not absolving them by any stretch.
No, nobody is.
The personnel is awful.
Correct. And when you get to the root cause of the problem, it's players. Zach Taylor said it several times after the game, saying we need somebody to step up and make a play. Step up and make a play. Somebody's got to show accountability out there and step up and make a play. Well, if they're not capable, then that's not the players' fault. They're out of position. We saw poor tackling again. Jordan Battle after the game, I asked him, are you surprised that this continues to happen? And you're now 8 weeks into the season. You're 3-5, 8 weeks into the season. You're repeating the same mistakes over and over and over. And he mentioned poor tackling. Well, Skinny, after the last 3 or 4 games, we talked about how bad the tackling is. You and me were in the room when we talked to Zach Taylor on Friday about the poor tackling. He knows that. But at some point, you've got to change the players who are playing. And, this just popped into my mind, and it's fascinating. On the week that Logan Wilson asks for a trade. The juxtaposition of that against the face of this loss, did Logan Wilson know something about how bad the situation is? And I mean, I think I'm going down a rabbit hole there. But anyway, the point is this team isn't good enough. But you and me both know, Skinny, the way the Brown and Blackburn family run football, it's about control. It's not about necessarily football competency. It's about who's making the final decisions. The Brown and Blackburns want the final decision. Therefore, they have never gone to a general manager. And I think this season could go up in flames, and I don't think it will change.
I mean, think about what you invested in the defensive line. You paid Trey Hendrickson. Good. That's arguably the best free agent signing in Bengals history. It's not going well at the moment, and that's part of the issue too. Because Trey was on the field for the first half today and did nothing. I mean, literally did nothing. And so that's on him, man. I get he's dealing with the hip thing. It probably was a thing even going into the game because he was listed as questionable on the injury report. So I'm not going to absolve him, but I get it. He played through an injury. Okay. Myles Murphy stinks. First-round pick. Joseph Osai stinks. Third-round pick. Chris Jenkins stinks. Second-round pick. McKinley Jackson can't get on the field. He's a third-round pick, for goodness sakes. Jamar Stewart at the moment, early returns. I get it. Stinks. First-round pick. At what point can you not, as an ownership, go, these guys don't know what they're doing. Let's go to somewhere else to do this. I mean, Barrett Carter had moments today, but Barrett Carter also had a huge missed tackle in the hole where he diagnoses it. He's in the hole, and Breece Hall runs through him like he's a high school player. I mean, that's the kind of tackling you see at the high school level, not at the NFL level, Mike. The one thing that those guys do most of the time is they tackle. I mean, like if they're on you, you're down. You're down to the ground. It's like, no offense, you're an Indian Hill guy, and when you watch CHL football, it's smaller school, it's smaller kids.
Right.
Guys run through tackles. You watch like the GCL South, dudes tackle, and they tackle in the NFL, man. It's a big difference. It's a big thing because it's tackle football. This group doesn't do that at all. It's horrific. I mean, Breece Hall and Isaiah Davis, they combined for 25, because I'm going to take Justin Fields out of the mix a little bit and Isaiah Williams, who ran a reverse. But Breece Hall and Isaiah Davis ran 25 times for 198 yards. That's roughly 8 yards per carry. In the NFL, where 4.1 is the gold standard.
Well, I mean, Skinny, at some point, the Bengals have to take a look at just going with what they've got. And if with what they've got, and this, I'm talking about Zach Taylor. Zach Taylor is accountable for this roster day in and day out, week in, week out of the NFL schedule. I know fans are furious about Zach Taylor. They hate the message that they hear after the game. They want to hear Zach, they want to hear him get angry. Well, today after the game was about as angry as you're going to hear Zach. He knows that these players aren't making the plays that typical NFL defensive players make. He's upset. And what was also notable about what Zach Taylor said after this loss was, I need players to stand up and be accountable. And usually NFL coaches after a game like this will say, we need to coach better, we need to tackle better, we need to play better, we need to do everything better. No, this was on, we've got to be accountable. Now, you didn't want to pin it on the offense or defense, but clearly, when you asked the question, when Charlie Goldsmith asked the question about were there particular areas of the defense that could step forward, he didn't want to single anybody out. I get that, but still, Zach Taylor's got to be accountable, and at some point he's got to throw these players out there and say, well, if they can't play, they can't play. What do you want me to do?
Well, I think you saw that. I think that was the whole Barrett Carter thing of there's a bigger ceiling to Barrett Carter than there is to Logan Wilson at this point in his career. Bench Cam Taylor-Britt trying to light a fire under him, and I don't know if it did or not. I mean, he wasn't great today. He wasn't awful today. He wasn't the singular reason they lost. But when I hear a coach talk about, I need a player to step up, I mean, what does that even mean? It means just go make a play.
Go make a play.
And if you're not capable of making a play, then how are they going to step up? I think that's the part to it is you just – and this isn't just a one game off. Like you blew this game and it's like they haven't been that – they've been awful since the opener. I mean, they've given up 27 points in every game since the Jacksonville game. I'll absolve them of 14 points against Minnesota because of 2 defensive touchdowns. They still gave up 34 points defensively against Minnesota. If today wasn't an eye-opener of you need to tear this thing down and rebuild it, and I know it sucks, and rebuild it with somebody else at the helm of rebuilding, not coaching-wise, and maybe it's coaching-wise, But at the helm of player personnel, then I don't know what does. At this point, at that point, then if I'm a fan, I just wash my hands of the whole thing and go, you don't care to change. You don't want to change.
No, and
you're not willing to change. And I think that would be the most disappointing thing of all. You can't keep whiffing on first-round draft picks. Again, Miles Murphy first-round pick is awful. Shamar Stewart's early returns are awful. Cam Taylor-Britt was a second-round pick. Awful. Joseph Osai, a third-round pick. Mediocre at best. You can't keep doing it. Demetrius Knight, second-round pick, he's a rookie, but he's been mediocre at best. You can't keep doing this draft after draft after draft and go, why do we stink? We thought it was Lou Anarumo. We threw that to the public. It was Lou. Wasn't Lou, was it, guys? And I'll be honest with you, I don't think it's Al Golden. There's not enough evidence yet. I mean, Al's going to have to do some things, in my opinion, that are going to be way unorthodox. Like, he is going to have to blitz
I was
70% of the time and just say, to hell with it, I'm coming. And if we get beat, we get beat because we're going to get beat anyway.
Okay, I'm going to single out one play because it was not part of the huge comeback. It actually was the Jets' first touchdown of the day. And I forgot to ask, and this is on me, I dropped the ball here, what Jordan Battle was thinking when he got in the face on 4th and 2 of Justin Fields and allowed Johnson to catch the ball. Dax Hill stumbled in the end zone. But what was that? Why do you stop there?
I don't know.
Is that a coaching? It could very well have been a coaching point that, look, we don't want to take a penalty on roughing the quarterback, so just put your hands up in the air, which he did, but he didn't hit the quarterback, and he was able to, Justin Fields was able to release the ball for the Jets' first touchdown of the day on 4th down.
Mike, he was a free runner. A free runner. Nobody blocked him. Nobody even came close to him. The only thing I can think of is he feared that if I jump at Justin Fields, he's going to pivot out the other way, and there's nobody on the backside. He's going to run for a first down. And I'm not absolving that. That's the only thing I can think of, the reason why you stopped. Listen, you had plenty of time to lower a shoulder and make it a clean hit into his midsection. So I'm not buying. I get what you're saying. Trust me, because I literally, when he did that, I'm like, what are you? In fact, I even blurted it out. I'm like, what are you doing? You were a free runner and you stopped and you almost like did some kind of goofy dance. And then, oh yeah, by the way, I got to get my hands up and maybe try to block. What are you doing?
And that to me is that's a coaching technique, because I can't imagine he thought on his own, because football players are trained to A, hit, and B, like you said, tackle, C, bring the guy to the ground. It is so the antithesis of what a defensive player does, not to hit and not to tackle.
Insane. That was the microcosm play for me of what is this defense doing? And
right.
I don't know if we talk to Al Golden tomorrow or if we talk to him on Wednesday. We'll talk to him one of those 2 days. I think I'm really interested to hear his point on that, of what Jordan A was coached to do, B, what he ended up seeing on film, and see what the message is moving forward. Because I can't imagine the message is, you're a free runner on a blitz, bro. Your job is to go knock the quarterback down. And even if you hit him illegally and he incompletes the pass, well, you live to play another down rather than a touchdown pass occur.
Exactly. We're talking with Richard Skinner of Local 12 and Local12.com. A lot more to break down on a horrific 39-38 loss to the previously winless New York Jets here at Paycor Stadium on Ring of Honor Day, of all days. It was a very dark day for the Bengals in the end, to be sure. This Jungle Roar Bengals postgame pod brought to you by the great folks at All Good. All Good has been helping homeowners for 32 years. When looking for a home improvement company, the number one quality I was looking for, along with the lovely Deborah Ann, was trust. We wanted to trust somebody who would put on our new roof and our new gutter system clean and efficiently. For the last 32 years, All Good has been trusted to help homeowners like myself replace their windows, install new vinyl siding, install new gutters, and professionally install a new roof. Also, this is a great time, with November quickly upon us, to make sure your home is ready for winter with energy efficient windows, a roof inspection, or even a gutter inspection. They would be glad to come out and do a free inspection with Ed Grant and the good people at All Good to see if your home is ready for the winter months. Right now, All Good is offering a 50% off sale or buy one, get one free. To schedule a free in-home consultation, you can call 513-247-2900 or go to myallgoodhome.com. And now they're offering this special only for Jungle Roar podcast listeners and viewers. If you need 10 windows, you get an additional $500 off on the purchase by mentioning you heard it here on the Jungle Roar Pod. Let me repeat that. If you need 10 windows, they'll give you 5 for free, and you get $500 off on the purchase by mentioning you heard it here on the Jungle Roar Pod. All right, back to breaking down the Bengals breakdown. 39-38, a loss to the New York Jets. The Bengals now 3-5 on the season. Skinny, were you in the scrum for Jamar Chase?
I was. Yes, I was.
Okay. He really, I'm surprised there's not a hole or two in his tongue for all of the tongue biting that he was doing.
A lot of pauses. He paused a lot to think of how he should answer questions.
And good on him. He's a leader.
Indeed. Absolutely.
He's a leader. He knew he needed to speak. There is no Joe Burrow. There's Joe Flacco, but he needed to speak, and he did. We got a next question, bro. We did get one of those, and I wasn't frankly surprised at that. But Jamar Chase is like us, like every Bengal fan, perplexed at what the hell happened here on Sunday, and he doesn't really have any answers. Asked if it's odd that this team has found it difficult over the last several years to close out games like this that occurred here on Sunday. He said that's a question for Zach Taylor. What were your overall thoughts of Jamar Chase post-game?
I thought he handled himself extremely well. He didn't give us great answers, mind you.
No.
But I think to that point, there were a lot of long pauses after questions. I'm sure there was a part of him that wanted to lash out at the defense. And good for him for not, because that's how locker rooms get fractured very quickly. So if you have any hope this team is going to bounce back, that's the last thing you need. I asked Joe Flacco that question of, you've been on teams where the offense has carried the defense and the defense has carried the offense. How do you keep from it devolving into you against them? And his answer was literally just, put blinders on and you worry about yourself. And I think that's a fair point. And I will say this. Look, you put up 38 points, Mike. You should not lose a football game. I mean, they've done their job. But you did have the next to last possession with 7 minutes and 52 seconds to go. Took over on your own 28. They went 3 plays, minus 6 yards, and punted. I mean, you're allowed there to continue to move the football. You're up 38-32. Pressure was on you a little bit to at least get a first down, get things rolling. Jamar Chase, of all people, dropped a pass to start that drive, if you remember. It's just a quick little screen out to him. I don't think it was going to get a whole lot, but he dropped it. And so you get a nothing play on first down, and Joe Flacco gets sacked on the third down play. So, yeah, as much as the offense did, you still could have found a way to finish that out if you finish off that drive, maybe by running out the clock, going down and kicking a field goal, anything other than going 3 and out. But to me, you've won 2 of your 3 games this year where you've needed last-second drives to score a touchdown against Jacksonville, to kick a field goal against Pittsburgh, and you're going to need that again today, all of which you had to get into the 30s just to win close games. That can't happen. And so I do think at some point it does devolve into us versus them. Like, guys, do your freaking job, man. We've done enough today. Could you do more? You could always do more. I mean, in a perfect world, you score on every drive, right? That's not realistic, but that's the perfect world. And you built yourself 14-point leads a couple of times and a 15-point lead once. That it just can't. That's where you should bury a winless team, and you don't. And so I thought Jamar, to your point, I thought his answers weren't very good. I just literally got done transcribing him right before you and I started doing this podcast. I'm like, I'm not even sure if I could use a quote, but I got to use one because he just was so dramatically good. You could just see it was like, what else are we supposed to do, man? Because they ain't doing their job.
Well, and I asked Jamar, and I thought, it was probably one of his longer answers about whether or not there's any hope for this team going forward, because that's what you look for. After a loss like this, there's got to be hope. And I didn't get a great, from Jamar, I got a sense that we just got to show up next week, do our job, and move forward. But I didn't get a great sense of hope in the locker room afterward. And I get it, it's a bad loss, but they know that this was a game that is more than just a 1-point loss.
No, right. I mean, you you found a level of hope against Pittsburgh because you found a way to win that game. And, oh, gosh, Joe Flacco now over the last 6 quarters in this offense, they're taking off. Well, today they did it again, right? For most of the game, putting up 38 points. And you still couldn't win? I mean, I think that's the one of we just lost to a winless team despite the offense continuing to go. The hope was last week, okay, the offense is they're back and they're going to continue against most teams to do good things. Well, that's all well and good, but the defense has shown now for a marked period of time they stink, and that's where the hope goes out the window of what I guess, Mike. The only what sign on that defensive side where you go, well, there's hope because this guy's coming back from injury and that guy's coming back from injury and this unit's playing well. This part of the group's there's none, zero.
And that's the problem with, as you said at the beginning of this podcast, Kenny, that they could continue to score points and the schedule does get more favorable, but it's not going to matter if you can't stop teams. And look, we thought that the Jets would struggle to put up 24 points in this game today, and they put up 39 with 500 yards. Skinny, I don't see a world where this team now gets to 10 wins or even 9. And
I don't
just
either.
Because I don't think they have enough players on defense. And the other point where fans are furious, and we want to broadcast this podcast, Skinny, empathizing with the fans who are really sick and tired, because what they watched Sunday was unacceptable, inexcusable, whatever word you want to use. It was that bad, but they know deep down it's not going to change because how many times Joe Flacco trade aside because they were desperate, would they find themselves as desperate defensively before the trade line to add 1 or 2 pieces to this defense?
No, I think I'm on the opposite tact of that now of it's time to tear this thing down. And you better hope Trey Hendrickson gets healthy enough to be a trade piece because that's the other part that's kind of on the quiet side of it at the moment because the trade deadline's looming. And if Trey isn't healthy, what are you going to get for an unhealthy Trey Hendrickson at this point? I think you have to explore every avenue to start rebuilding that defense. But here's the other part.
Go ahead.
Do you trust the people making those decisions, though? Right? That's the thing. No, you don't.
And, that gets back to you need a general manager. You need to double or triple your scouting department. You just do. And that's the way I keep coming back to this term, functional football teams operate. And what we saw here on Sunday was indicative, the end result of a dysfunctional football operation where, yes, you signed Joe Burrow. Yes, you extended Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Congratulations. Well, second guessing, and we are Monday morning quarterbacking here, but maybe you don't extend T. Higgins. And maybe those people who were criticizing that move, now you understand or see a little bit more of the rationale out in practical purpose out on the field that they are very shorthanded on defense.
Yeah, Mike, I'm not going to relitigate that part, but I was in the not signing T. Higgins camp to use that money elsewhere, but I'm even going to put that aside for a moment. If you, though, pay the quarterback and pay the 2 receivers, and you're paying Trey a good piece of change this year, I mean, it's not a long-term thing, but still $30 million. You have to have guys on rookie contracts who succeed.
Right.
People always wonder, how does Philly pay Saquon and Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown and their 2 offensive tackles and maybe one of their premier defensive players? Because they have a lot of guys on rookie contracts performing because they know what they're doing. And not only, starting and performing at high levels. I mean, a couple of guys in their secondary are in their second year performing at a high level. If you keep whiffing on that portion of the program, you can't succeed in this league. And I'm sorry, again, you don't get to go back and go, well, I helped build some playoff teams in the 2010s. Okay, good. Congratulations to you. They didn't win any games, mind you, but congratulations to you. You helped build playoff rosters. You don't get that. That doesn't give you cachet for it. I mean, listen, I'm not in the fire Zach Taylor camp. I'm not. I know people probably want us both to come on this podcast and shout that to the high moons. I'll revisit that at some point. I think we'll certainly revisit that at some point, but I'm not. But hear me out on this. But Mike, Zach Taylor doesn't get to live on the cachet of I took you to a Super Bowl and an AFC championship game forever, right? I mean, he gets it for a period of time, but you don't get that forever.
Well, and if you really want to go down that path, if you were to ever hire a general manager, maybe a general manager wants to bring in everything new, a new head coach, new scouting department, everything new. Bengals aren't going to do that, but that is where you could have that discussion. But at this particular point, Mike Brown and Katie Blackburn and Troy, they're not wanting to fire Zach because they love Zach. They love the way he coaches. They love how affable he is with the media, how cooperative he is. And in the end, right now, it's not about wins and losses. It's about the marketing. It's about the image. And that drives fans just off the cliff with this team.
But if this goes the direction it feels like it's trending, at the very least, not making the playoffs, not maybe trending to 4-13 or 5-12. I don't think it trends to that ultimate direction. Although I see you raise your eyebrows on that, but I don't think it trends completely there. But still, not making the playoffs for a third straight year, with or without Joe Burrow, is still atrocious. Someone has to pay the price. And sure, I know everybody thinks the head coach is the guy, but at what point do you look and go, our roster's not very good? Is that? I mean, I know coaches have some input. I don't think they have final input. I mean, I can't imagine Zach Taylor stumped for Jamar Stewart in the first round. Maybe he would have looked at tape and go, yeah, I like him as a player. If you guys think he's the right guy, let's go. I can't imagine he stumped for him. Now, you think he's stumped for Jermaine Burton. Shame on you for stumping there. But, it's just these drafts since like 2021 have been an unmitigated disaster since you literally fell into Joe Burrow and fell into Jamar Chase. I could have done that. Well, okay, maybe my choice would have been a tough one between Penei Sewell and Jamar Chase. I was always Team Chase, but okay, you can tell me that was a tough one. Burrow was an automatic, and even your backup plan, Justin Herbert, wasn't the worst pick in the world. So it's not like you get kudos for that, man. You don't. The last few drafts have been an unmitigated disaster. Tyler Sheldon says hello, by the way, as a fourth-round pick. That worked out great. Jackson Carmen says hi as a second-round pick. How'd that go?
Richard Skinner of Local 12 and local12.com. We know him and love him as Skinny. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this football season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. New this month, Prize Picks is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Want to pick more on Josh Allen's passing yards, rush yards, and touchdowns? Well, now you can by picking all of them in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. Follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one simple click. Whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you happen to like, hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new Feed tab on Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use that code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Back with Skinny of Local 12 and local12.com. Thoughts on the halftime Ring of Honor ceremony, Skinny?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I've been, and again, you and I are just a couple of years apart, but we kind of grew up in the same Bengals era.
Yeah, we did.
I'm such a Lamar Parrish fan. It was my dad had season tickets, and so I've been going to Bengals games. We moved back. We used to live here. We moved to Tulsa and New York when I was a kid for a few years. Came back here when I was in the 6th grade, and my dad had season tickets from that point forward. So I've been going to Bengals games for a long time, both as a young fan and now as a jaded journalist for a long time. Lamar Parrish is. I've stumped for him almost from the very first Ring of Honor. Like, I thought they should have put 10 guys in initially, and he was one of the 10. I did love the fact that it was before Jeff Hobson, our friend, narrated a lot of the lap Parrish things. They were actually talking about somebody else was narrating an earlier part.
Right.
And they made the point that he was Deion Sanders before Deion Sanders, and he absolutely was. I mean, that dude was so electric on punt returns that, I used to, it was him and Tommy Casanova and Lyle Blackwood. And they used to have a 3-man punt return group, almost kind of a wishbone. And Lyle Blackwood was always the up guy. So if there's a really short punt, he'd be the fair catch guy. But Tommy Casanova, by the way, was a hell of a punt returner. Not Lamar's class, but when Lamar got his hands on the ball, man, you just held your breath going, he's going to duck and dodge his way for something fun here. And he was just so good at it. He was a great corner. I mean, in my opinion, and I don't know why this is not gaining traction. He didn't have a ton of interceptions in his career, like 27 to 30, something like that. because nobody threw at him because he was that good. He's a Hall of Famer. And so I'm so happy for him to get in. And for Lapp, I always thought Lapp, I'm glad the fans voted him in. I wasn't sure they would. And then there were other people like, if I was voting, and this is no knock on Lapp, I would have voted for James Brooks because I think he's the best running back in Bengals history overall.
I would agree with that.
But Lapp was in a category kind of by himself. Like Lapp as a player was really good, not Ring of Honor good as a player, but you combine his career where he was a 10-year plus starter, started in a Super Bowl, played all 5 positions in a game a few times. Think about that. Think about a dude playing center, right guard, left tackle, right tackle in the same game. I mean, that's insane to me. He did that. Solid pro, but again, not good enough as a player to make the Ring of Honor. But then the career since then, I mean, he is the Bengal. He is so synonymous.
Mr. Bengal.
So I thought it was. I'm happy for him, no question about it. I think it should have been done. I think they should have just plugged him in and just said, "You're in. You're good. Whatever. It doesn't matter now. He's in." And I thought it was great. I'm glad both got to celebrate it. Both are in their 70s. I'm glad they both got to celebrate it while both alive because it breaks my heart Ken Riley didn't get a chance to do that.
Indeed. And kind of on that note, and I want to make sure we mention this because there are a lot of Bengal fans in Dayton, and a legendary figure died at way too young an age, 41 years old. Nick Mangold passed away Sunday morning. And after the game, and it's up on my X page at Trags, Trags, the answer, I should say, the response from Ted Karras. He brought us all over, and he opened his address to reporters following an excruciating loss, obviously, and he was very upset about that. But his first comments were about Nick Mangold and the impact that Mangold had on him professionally and as a person. And it was very, very heartfelt. And obviously, Ted knows what he meant in the high school area growing up in this area. Went obviously locally to Alter. Thank you, Dayton, Archbishop Alter up in Dayton, and it was just a very emotional moment before the game for the Jets, and then obviously after the game for the Bengals, and a guy like Ted Karras who followed him and followed his career, and their careers overlapped, I think, a little bit towards the end, maybe not.
Not by much, but yeah.
No, but anyway, I just thought it was a real class moment for Ted Karras after the game to kind of pay tribute to the late Nick Mangold, a Hall of Famer.
And listen, I know fans want players to be so angry after a loss like that you're not thinking about the human element of any of this, but that is a great human moment. Like, it's football is life and death for a lot of fans, but you know what life and death is? Life and death is life and death, man. And right. And good for Ted.
Yeah, it really was, and I wanted to, point that out to a lot of fans who, like you said, Skinny, they get caught up in the wins and the losses, and you should if you're a fan. Sundays are about football and the NFL in the fall, and this one was pretty much a loss that I don't think is going to sit well with a lot of Bengal fans. Speaking of which, Kelsey Conway of the Inquirer asked Ted, how do you stomach a loss like this? And he said, there's no stomaching. We just lost to the Jets. And he mentioned it clearly, knowing that the Jets came in here, they won a game. Obviously, he knows they were winless. And all he would say at the end of that statement, at the end of that particular quote, horrendous. And then, I asked him about scoring and getting the offense in gear, which they did, Skinny, obviously, with the 38 points and, more than 450 yards of offense, and did great on the ground. But he said, that don't mean
Shinola.
It doesn't mean, I'm cleaning it up. It doesn't mean Shinola. We lost the game. It doesn't matter. And that kind of summed up the day, I thought.
Yep, I agree. I mean, I'm still stunned at what I watched. I mean, when you had a chance to bury them, and they should have been buried, and a quarterback who probably, the funny part is, probably wasn't even going to start today if Tyrod Taylor hadn't suffered the injury and they eventually ruled him out. I mean, think about that part of it and the way they ran, though. It's embarrassing. And if this was a one-off, I'd just say, you know what? This is the NFL. I've watched this. It's not a one-off, man. This is a consistent pattern with this defense it's going to take some off seasons to rectify.
You don't see it, Skinny, getting better this year.
I don't. I mean, barring a miracle of Al Golden pushing some special lever to say, I'm just going to blitz on every down and Katie bar the door, we're going to get some negative plays and some turnovers, and they're going to hit us from some big plays, and maybe that changes things. But if you keep running this group out and playing just a normal defensive stuff, I mean, we even watched, like you said, you watched a blitz today that should have gotten home, except the guy did some kind of Texas two-step tap dance and didn't get there. And so, I mean, if I don't think there's answers to be had other than you're going to have some off seasons to fix this. And I know that sucks. And you just got to hope that there's enough in the next couple of off seasons to piecemeal this to where a Joe Burrow-led offense wins you games 38-37. But that's not a recipe for success, man. It's just not.
What are you working on, Skinny?
Well, literally, I think my lead is, I haven't written it yet, but it's in my head of, supposedly this was Lou Anarumo's fault. It's sure not Al Golden's, although he's culpable. But basically, this is the front office's issue, and somehow they've got to find a way to rectify that, either by changing some people. I just don't know. It's just time to clean house in that scouting staff. They're awful.
Yeah, unfortunately, the results don't lie, Skinny.
Yep,
as somebody
that's right.
once told me, results do not lie. All right, he is Richard Skinner of Local 12 and local12.com. Be sure to read his great stuff up there on his website. You can follow my stuff, my recap and takeaways from today's 39-38 loss to the Jets on CLNS Cincy with a Y.com. Locker room reaction already up there on both this YouTube channel, youtube.com/Jungle Roar Pod, as well as my X page. That's at Trags, TRAGS. I want to thank our sponsors, as always, All Good Home Improvement and Prize Picks. And until next week, when the Bengals take on the Chicago Bears, trying to improve upon a 3-5 record, he's Richard Skinner. I'm Mike Petralia. Keep that jungle roaring.